this wasn't bad luck. It was a receipt, dated the day Michael Carter chose appearance over truth. He didn't lose everything because he wasn't smart. He lost it because he learned how to make fear look professional. And when the truth finally showed up, it didn't arrive as a confrontation. It arrived as something quieter, an email, forwarded one too many times. After that, there was no room left to spin the story. No angle, no charm, no clean explanation. Just the record. So picture this, a glass tower in Dallas. A boardroom that smells like coffee and polished wood. A wall clock moving like it has all the patience in the world. And a man who built his life on being admired, about to sit in the only courtroom that really matters. The one inside his own conscience. Welcome to the courtroom you can't avoid. No wood benches. No loud gavel. Just a quiet room in Dallas, high up in a glass tower where the air smells like coffee and polished tables. A wall clock ticks with the same calm rhythm, as if it doesn't care who wins, as if it only cares what's true. And I'm not here to shame Michael Carter. I'm here to name what happened, plainly, because the rules are simple. We don't accept I was stressed as proof. We don't accept everyone does it as a defense. We don't accept I had to as a clean excuse. Here we deal in choices, and what those choices cost. Michael sits the way he always does, back straight, smile ready, shoulders held just a little too tight, confident, controlled, the kind of man people call self-made, the kind of man others like to follow. But there's a small detail on the table that tells a bigger story. His wedding ring. He rolls it between his fingers once, then sets it down like real life can wait outside the room. In a moment, we'll call witnesses, not people with microphones. Not enemies with grudges. We'll call the email that got sent. The spreadsheet that changed. The silence that followed. The trust that broke without making a sound. And we'll ask one question again and again. What did Michael choose when it cost him something? Now the accusation begins. And it starts with one meeting that looked like a victory. The accusation is simple. Michael Carter wanted the biggest contract of his life. A new client, a huge deal. The kind that turns a local logistics company into a name people repeat in Dallas. The meeting was set for Monday morning, a clean boardroom. A long table, coffee cups lined up like they belong there. And that wall clock, steady, quiet, marking time like it had seen 100 promises before. Michael walked in like a man who already had the signature. He shook hands. He smiled at the right moments. He made people feel safe without saying much at all. His company did real work, trucks, schedules, deadlines, real money. And the truth was, there had been a problem the week before, a shipping delay, a costly mistake, the kind that happens when you push too hard, rush the process, demand speed over care. Michael knew exactly why it happened. He'd changed the plan at the last minute. He pushed the team past the limit. He had signed off on a shortcut because he needed the numbers to look perfect. But in that room, investors watching, client listening, I did it felt like stepping into traffic. So he did what proud people do when fear wears a nice suit. He opened a slide deck, clean charts, clean lines, a calm voice. A future that looked easy. Then came the moment. A client asked a simple question about the delay. Michael's smile held, but his throat went dry. His eyes flicked to the clock, then back to the table. And in that small pause, he chose. He said the numbers were fine, better than fine. He adjusted them just enough to sound flawless. Not a wild lie, just a polished one. The kind that doesn't feel dangerous until it becomes a habit. Then he did the second thing, worse than the first. To sell the story, he turned toward his operations manager, Daniel Brooks. Daniel had been with him from the early days, late nights, hard weeks, quiet loyalty, the kind you don't notice until it's gone. Michael smiled like a leader and spoke like a man delivering a verdict. He said Daniel made the mistake. He said Daniel failed to follow process. He said Daniel had been warned. Daniel didn't snap. He didn't argue. His face just went still, like something inside him had stepped back and decided not to come forward again. Across the table, the investors nodded. A few smiled, as if they respected strong leadership. The client relaxed, because the explanation sounded clean. And Michael felt that warm rush in his chest. Relief, control, that quiet high of getting away with it. His hand drifted to the wedding ring again, almost without thinking. He rolled it once, then set it down on the table like it didn't belong to him in that moment. When the meeting ended, Daniel packed his notebook slowly. Not with drama, with a kind of quiet understanding. And Michael didn't realize it yet, but that single sentence in that room would cost him more than the contract. Because from that day on, his wind stopped feeling clean, and something he'd kept asleep for years had just been awakened. At first, it worked. That afternoon, Michael got messages that felt like confirmation. An investor texted, "Strong call today." Another wrote, "Great leadership." The client's team sent a polite follow-up email. Warm tone, clean language. The deal still looked alive. Michael sat alone in his office and listened to the building settle. Air vents, distant footsteps, the soft click of an elevator somewhere down the hall. He told himself a story, then another, then another. Daniel will get over it. It's just business. I protected the company, but the stories didn't sit right. And small consequences started showing up like tiny cracks in glass. Easy to ignore until you catch the light. Daniel stopped offering ideas in meetings. When Michael asked questions, Daniel answered with the minimum. No extra detail, no warmth. Then Daniel stopped coming in early. For years, Daniel had been the first one there, coffee in hand, sleeves rolled up, a printed checklist on the table before anyone else arrived. That stopped. Then Daniel stopped stepping into Michael's office at all. Michael noticed. He just didn't name it. He stayed on. Smooth voice, clean suit, controlled smile. At home, the silence spread. Emily asked how his day went. Michael said, "Fine," without looking up from his phone. That night, he washed his hands and slipped his wedding ring off, like he always did, then left it by the sink a little longer than usual. Emily didn't argue. She just watched him the way you watch someone you love, when you're trying to recognize them. The next morning, Michael crossed the lobby and saw the plaque on the wall. Integrity. He'd walked past it 100 times and felt nothing. This time, the word felt sharp, like it was noticing him back. He quickened his pace. By the end of the week, the first real warning arrived. Daniel sent a request to meet privately. 2 lines, calm, professional. Michael read it and felt his stomach tighten. He stared down the hallway at the same glass meeting room where conversations always sounded polite. Even when they weren't, he didn't reply right away. Instead, he opened the budget file again. He didn't need to adjust anything, but he did anyway. A small change, then another. Not to fix a problem, just to feel in control again. And by Thursday, Michael honestly thought the worst had passed. He was wrong, because proof doesn't announce itself. It just waits to be found. On Friday afternoon, Daniel walked into Michael's office. He didn't sit at first. He stood there, hands at his sides, steady and respectful. Michael tried a friendly smile, like a host. "What's up?" Daniel's voice was quiet. "I'm resigning." The room felt suddenly too bright. Michael forced a short laugh. "Come on, don't be dramatic." Daniel didn't move. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being clear." Michael reached for the ring on his desk without thinking, rolled it between his fingers, then stopped. Daniel looked at him, not angry, not loud, and said the sentence Michael feared most. "I won't carry your lie." Daniel turned to leave. And for the first time in years, Michael felt something he couldn't negotiate with. Not a competitor, not a deadline, a consequence. Michael didn't chase Daniel out the door, not at first. He stayed in his chair, staring at the empty space where Daniel had stood, as if the room might explain what just happened. The office felt too quiet. Even the hum of the lights sounded loud. He told himself it was fine. People leave. People get emotional. People calm down and come back. But Daniel didn't just leave. Daniel took trust with him. On Monday, 2 resignations hit Michael's inbox before 9 a.m., then another by lunch. People he had trained, people he had laughed with, people who used to say, "We're in this together." Now the emails were careful, short, final. Michael walked into the operations room and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not rebellion, distance. Eyes slid away from him like he'd become something unsafe to stand near. He wasn't Michael anymore. He was risk. So he tried to fix it the way he always fixed things. Pressure. He called an all-hands meeting. Stood at the front of the room with a voice that used to move people. He talked about loyalty. He talked about teamwork. He talked about the mission, but the words didn't land. No one clapped. No one asked questions. Someone's phone buzzed. Someone coughed, and that was it. After the meeting, he crossed the lobby and saw the plaque again. Integrity. He hated the word now, not because it was wrong, but because it felt like a mirror he couldn't tilt. Then the leak happened. It didn't arrive like a headline. It arrived like a whisper that found the right hallway. A screenshot, a forwarded message, a chain sent by mistake, then shared on purpose. Inside it, Michael's edits were visible. Numbers changed. Notes added, the timeline clear. And one line, simple, damning, sat in the middle like a match in dry grass. Put the delay on Daniel. We can't look weak in front of them. It moved fast. Employees saw it, then the client's team, then investors. Within 48 hours, the client called for a formal review. And then came the word Michael feared more than competition, audit. He found himself back in the same glass meeting room where he'd smiled and won. Across the table, the client's legal team asked questions in voices that never got emotional. Who approved these numbers? Who made these edits? Why does the story you told not match the record? Michael tried to answer the way he always had. Calm tone, controlled face, careful wording, but something in him wouldn't cooperate. His mouth went dry. His hands felt unfamiliar. He looked down and saw his wedding ring on the table again. He hadn't even noticed taking it off. His fingers hovered over it like it could protect him. It couldn't. That night, he drove home through Dallas traffic with the radio off. At a red light, he stared at his own reflection in the windshield. For the first time, he didn't see a winner. He saw a man who had been building a life on one fragile thing, being admired. Now admiration was gone, and fear had taken its place. In the kitchen, Emily was waiting. Not angry, not loud, just tired. She looked at him and asked one question. Was it true? Michael opened his mouth, ready to manage it, shape it, soften it, and nothing came out. Because the breaking point isn't when people find out. It's when you realize you can't hide from yourself anymore. The next morning, Michael woke up before sunrise. He didn't feel rested. He felt hollow, like someone had scooped the noise out of him and left the shell. He sat on the edge of the bed and listened to the quiet house. No calls, no meetings, no voice telling him what to fix first, just stillness. In the living room, a clock ticked softly, patient, almost gentle. Not accusing, just counting. Michael walked into the kitchen. His wedding ring was on the counter where he dropped it the night before. He picked it up, felt the familiar weight, then set it back down again like he hadn't earned it. Emily was already awake. She didn't lecture. She didn't raise her voice. She only said, "Coffee's on." That kindness hit him harder than anger would have. Michael stared out the window at the quiet street and tried to find someone else to blame. The market. The pressure. Daniel for not being tough enough. But the truth kept returning, simple and unavoidable. He did it. He changed the numbers. He shifted the blame. He chose image over truth. He pictured Daniel's face in that meeting, how still it went. How respectful he stayed, even while being used. Michael exhaled slowly, like his body had been holding air for days. He remembered the lobby plaque, integrity. He remembered how he walked faster, like he could outrun a word. Now he couldn't outrun anything. He picked up his phone and scrolled through messages. Most were cold now, short, business only. Some people didn't answer at all. Then a new email appeared. Subject line, immediate next steps. He expected it to be from the client. It wasn't. It was from his own board. Michael stared at the screen until the letters blurred. And in the quiet, he admitted something he'd never said out loud. "I'm afraid, not afraid of losing money. Afraid of being seen clearly. Afraid of being a man without the mask." He didn't find an answer in that moment, but he felt something shift inside him, small, real. Like the first loosening of a knot that had been tight for years. That afternoon, Michael walked into the office like a man walking into his own trial. The lobby felt colder than usual. Voices dropped when he passed. Conversations ended mid-sentence. He looked up at the plaque again. Integrity. This time he didn't speed up. He didn't pretend not to see it. He just stood there for a moment, breathing, letting the word sit where it wanted to sit. Not accusing him, reminding him. Upstairs, the board was waiting. 3 people, clean suits, calm faces. A printed report on the table, neatly stacked, like the paper itself was trying to stay polite. The chairwoman, Karen Holt, spoke first, professional, firm. The client is pausing the contract. Investors are nervous. "We have to show accountability." Michael nodded like he agreed. He had learned how to nod. Karen slid a page toward him. "We need a statement." Michael picked it up and read. It was perfect. The right words. The right tone. Soft language that spread responsibility like fog. He could sign it and protect the company's image for one more day. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe he could outlast the storm. His hand hovered over the pen, and in that pause, something small came back to him. The kitchen, the quiet, Emily's tired face. Was it true? He realized he was exhausted from rehearsing answers. Michael reached into his pocket and touched his wedding ring. He brought it with him without knowing why. He still hadn't put it on. Karen leaned forward slightly. "Michael," he looked at the paper again, then he set it down. "I can't sign this." The room went still. Karen's expression tightened. "We don't have time for pride." Michael swallowed. "This isn't pride." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't perform. He just spoke carefully, like each word needed to be clean. "I changed the numbers. I blame Daniel. I did it to look strong." No one interrupted. Michael kept going, quieter now, but steadier. "If we keep pretending, we lose everything anyway. But if we tell the truth, we might save what's still real." Karen leaned back. "Do you know what this will cost?" Michael nodded, slow. He did know. It would cost his image. It would cost his control. It might cost his role. And for the first time, he saw the thing underneath all of it. He hadn't been protecting the company. He'd been protecting the version of himself that people applauded. Michael took a breath. "I want to make it right," he said. "The right way, even if it hurts." The room stayed quiet. And in that quiet, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not relief. Not victory. Awareness. No one clapped. This wasn't a movie moment. It was a hard room, a hard decision, and real consequences waiting on the other side of the door. Karen spoke again. "If we do this, we do it fully. We tell the client. We correct the records. We accept the consequences. Michael nodded. He didn't feel brave. He felt exposed. They scheduled the call that same day. Michael sat in the same glass meeting room where he'd blamed Daniel. Same walls. Same skyline. Same view of Dallas spread out like it didn't care about anyone's reputation. When the call began, Michael didn't start with excuses. He started with one sentence. I need to correct what I said in the last meeting. A pause, a long one. Michael placed his wedding ring on the table, not as a habit this time, but as a reminder. This is bigger than your pride. He spoke slowly, simple words, no clever language. The delay was my decision. I pushed the team. I changed the numbers to look better, and I blamed my manager for it. The client's voice turned cold. Why are you telling us now? Michael hesitated, just long enough for the truth to be honest. Because it's already coming out, he said. And because I can't build anything solid on that kind of lie. Silence again. Then the client said what Michael had been hoping not to hear. We're canceling the contract. It landed like a punch, clean and direct. Michael didn't argue. He didn't bargain. He didn't try to negotiate forgiveness. He swallowed once and said, I understand. When the call ended, he sat still, staring at the blank screen. He had lost the deal, and losing the deal didn't end the story. It just ended the pretending. Next came the harder part. He called Daniel. Daniel answered after a few rings. His voice was calm, guarded, like a door that used to be open now had a chain on it. Michael didn't try to sound strong. Daniel, I'm sorry, he said. I blamed you for what I did. You didn't deserve that. Silence. Michael kept his voice simple. I told the board, I told the client. I corrected it. Daniel let out a slow breath. Why? Michael looked at the ring on the table and said it the only way that felt true. Because I couldn't live with it anymore. Daniel didn't rush to comfort him. That apology doesn't fix what it broke, Daniel said. I know, Michael replied. A longer pause. Then Daniel spoke again, still guarded, but different. It matters that you finally said it out loud. Michael's throat tightened. I don't expect you to come back. I'm not, Daniel said. But I'll tell the team you didn't keep hiding. After the call, Michael walked through the office. People didn't smile at him, not yet, but some looked at him differently. Not with trust, not with admiration, with surprise. Because they were used to leaders who never owned anything. That evening, Michael went home and found Emily in the kitchen. He didn't bring a victory story. He didn't bring a deal. He brought the truth. He slid the wedding ring onto his finger and said, I lied, and I'm done lying. Emily looked at him for a long time, then she nodded once. Not because everything was fixed, but because something had become real again. Weeks passed. Michael's company didn't disappear overnight, but it changed shape. The board tightened its grip. A few investors pulled back. The office felt quieter, like a room after a storm, when you can still smell what got broken. And in the space where ego used to live, something unfamiliar began to grow. Not confidence, honesty. Michael stopped using pressure like a weapon. He asked questions before giving orders. He listened, without loading a response in his head while someone else was speaking. Some mornings, he still walked into the lobby with that old reflex in his chest, the need to look untouchable. And there it was, waiting where it always had been. Integrity. At first, the word felt like a bruise. Later, it felt more like direction. On the days the fear returned, what if they don't respect you anymore? What if you're not impressive? He'd noticed his hand drift to his wedding ring. Not to perform, just to remember what he nearly traded away. Because real strength didn't show up in the meeting where he won. It showed up in the meeting where he told the truth and still lost the contract. That's the part that stays with you. Sometimes the truth doesn't come with a reward. Sometimes it comes with consequences you have to carry, but it also comes with something else: a clean mind, a face you can look at in the glass without flinching. Maybe your courtroom isn't a boardroom in Dallas. Maybe it's your kitchen, your phone, the small choices you make when nobody is checking. And maybe there's a sentence you've been avoiding, not because you don't know it, because you do. If you can notice it earlier, not out of fear, just out of mercy for yourself and for the people who keep paying for what you won't name. Integrity isn't a plaque on a wall. It's the decision you make when your image would rather you stay quiet. Before you go, think of one relationship you've been managing instead of honoring. One person you've quietly blamed, out loud or just in your head. One truth you've been softening so you can keep looking fine. You don't have to fix everything today. Just take one clean step toward honesty. A message that says, I was wrong. A call that says, you didn't deserve that. A decision that says, I'm not doing it that way anymore. And if this story hit close to home, leave one sentence in the comments. Have you ever told the truth and still had to accept the loss? What did it change in you? Before you scroll, pick one moment this week where you can choose truth over image. Small, but real. Maybe it's a text. Maybe it's an apology. Maybe it's simply not shifting blame. If you feel comfortable, share one line in the comments. What's one honest step you'd like to take without performing it for anyone? And if you want more stories like this, quiet, human, and real, subscribe.